I spent 2 days uncovering the troubled history of a demented miner, combing rugged hillsides, tracking down his abandoned mines and crumbling cabins. I pieced together the geology and the madness that drove this psychopath to kill. In the wilds of Browns Park, Utah, a twisted miner named Jesse Ewing chased copper, cheated dreamers, and even killed to guard his dark secrets.
Rules! In a knife fight, no rules!
They say his greed still echoes here, and I'm heading in to dig it all up in this rugged, lonely corner of Utah. Under cover of darkness in 1868, Jesse and a shadowy band of souls slipped silently onto a handful of creaking boats. From the desolate banks of Green River, Wyoming, they embarked on a perilous quest, driven by whispers of gold and copper, buried deep within the eastern slopes of the Uinta Mountains. The group was trying to hide their prospecting activities, cloaking their ambitions in secrecy as they ventured into the unknown. In spring, the river roared through the black of night. They dodged rocks and rapids. Upon reaching Red Creek Canyon, the lead boat spun in a whirlpool. H.M. Hook fell into the icy water and vanished, while another clung to a rock before being swept away. The survivors reached shore, shaken, and soon found Hook's pale, lifeless body. They buried him above Red Creek Canyon, his grave now lost. The crew was broken, gripped by fear and ready to quit. All but Jesse turned back, dragging their feet over 50 grim miles to Green River, Wyoming. Jesse didn't flinch. He thrived in the shadows alone, just the way he craved it. Greed burned in his veins, a hunger that never slept. At about 175 pounds, his broad-muscled frame loomed like a storm waiting to break. His face, a jagged map of scars, bore the marks of countless knife fights. Each cut, a story of blood and fury. Once in the wild mountains north of South Pass, Wyoming, a grizzly bear had torn into him, leaving him clawed and raw, yet still breathing. Folks back home called him a good man to steer clear of. Another soul called him a freak of humanity who cared little for his own life and even less for others. So we've got our first creek crossing here. And it doesn't look that bad. I was kind of worried that with the recent snow we had that this creek might be flowing pretty heavy, but I think we're going to make it. We've got about, I think, either 3 or 4 times that we got to cross it just because of how the river is. So a little more on Jesse. Jesse was not a good man. He spent time as a stage station keeper in South Pass, Wyoming. And while there, he took a special disliking to a guy named Coulter. I don't know why. It got so bad that Jesse would sneak up to his jail cell window where Coulter was locked up, and he would fire shots at him, just for kicks. Of course, the townsfolk didn't like that one bit, so Jesse bolted down to Green River to escape. Years later, while Jesse was in Brown's Hole, word reached him that Coulter was on his deathbed up in Green River. Jesse couldn't resist. He made a special trip back up to Green River, crept up to Coulter's bedroom window, and tried to blast him right there. His bullets missed though. I guess he just punched a couple of holes in the wall above his head. I guess he was a lousy shot. No wonder why he liked knives. It feels so good to get out. It's a little cold out today though. It's about 40 degrees. So I've got another crossing here I got to do. I haven't seen any signs of cabins or anything like that yet. The gray sky is kind of fitting with the type of person Jesse Ewing was. He was always kind of a thundercloud waiting to burst. So I've just been following kind of like a game trail, and I think I can see something right up here. Oh yeah, look at that. Holy cow. It's an old fireplace right here. Heck yeah. I don't know, hopefully you can see this on camera, but that's all that's left of a fireplace. So right in this area, there would have been a cabin. You can tell it's actually kind of flattened out right in here. It's kind of fitting. There's a bunch of cactus on the ground here. Kind of like Jesse Ewing himself. He was like a pretty prickly guy from what I understand. Definitely not an outstanding citizen. There's an old can right there. Riker just stepped on it. I'm kind of surprised I'm not seeing more debris around. Usually wherever you had an old cabin, you know, especially from the 1800s, usually they left a huge pile of debris around. I don't know, maybe I need to look a little harder. All right, let's keep looking. I know there's got to be more. Another story I heard about Jesse was one day a man named Robinson rolled into Red Creek Canyon, eager to claim a spot near Jesse's land. Of course, Jesse didn't like that idea. Jesse was an extremely greedy guy. He didn't want anyone near any of his claims. That winter, things boiled over and Jesse lost it. He stabbed Robinson to death, plunging his knife right in his heart. Then, as Jesse trudged back to his cabin through the snow, he ran into a pair of fur trappers. With a twisted grin, he said, "Want to see a pretty corpse? Check down by the river." They went, and there it was. Robinson's bloody, lifeless body sprawled across the ice, his chest torn open with knife wounds. And no one saw Jesse do it, so he walked free, never paying for that kill. Look, I can see another fireplace over here. At least that's what it looks like to me. Heck yeah. That's so cool. I can see why there's no cabin here. There was a brush fire that came through here. You can see that stump is all burnt up. That's 2 cabins we found so far. Unfortunately, there's nothing left to 2 of them. Like I said, though, I know he built multiple structures up in here. I heard as many as 4. So, yeah, some pretty interesting rock formations in here, though. I wish I was a better geologist and could tell you what kind of rock I'm seeing, but like this over here, this is quartz right here. I know at least that much. That's quartz, that's quartz. The Red Creek Canyon area has some showings of 1.7 billion year old rock. And I'm thinking that quartz is a part of that. Be interesting to detect this area to see if we can find anything. It's on BLM where metal detecting is allowed. I know the rules. I know you're not supposed to metal detect right near historical structures. This canyon has an eerie feeling to it. It's like there's no birds chirping. It's just really quiet. Then you got the cloudy sky that's just, I don't know, you kind of get the feeling that a bad man used to call this area home. We have another creek crossing. Look at this, I almost passed it. It's an old train track. I never heard that he had a big enough operation that he actually had like ore carts and stuff like that you'd need a train track, but and there's no doubt that's what that is right there. That's pretty cool. We're finding signs of them for sure. I love it. Oh, and look, I see something else. So if you look on that hillside, you can see a road cut into it. And that is definitely what I was seeing on Google Earth. And it looks like I see another rock structure right there, sure enough. That's too cool. Oh, and look at this. Look at that. There's copper in that rock. See that? And there's an old can right there. This is so cool. I love this stuff. I love that I live in an area where I can still come out and find things like this. It's just so cool. Yeah, look at the size of that fireplace. There's still quite a bit of it standing. And look at that shiny rock. Wonder what that is. And there's more copper on the ground over here. Look, there's a big thing of copper. Wow. That's so cool. There, oh my God, there's even, look at this. He built his fireplace with rocks that had copper in it. You know, when I was reading about this online, and I had a couple of books that mention them, there's short mentions on them though. There's really not too much history about them, but I always got the impression that that his mining ventures were more in vain and he never really found anything. But I mean, I'm seeing the signs of it all around here. There's definitely copper. I don't know that he ever found any gold with that copper. I did read a geological survey, and they were saying that basically, if there's anything, there's small pockets of copper and manganese, if I'm pronouncing that right, but no mention of gold. Now, the western side of the Uintas have gold. You know, over there, supposedly the Spanish were mining gold even, but I don't know, maybe the Spanish were over it here too. Maybe he did find gold. I know typically when you find copper, there's usually at least a small amount of gold with it. This is just so cool though. God, I love this stuff. Let's look around the back side here. There's another old can right there. There's another can down in there. That one looks like it's... Oh! This is another spot though. I'm kind of surprised that there should be more debris around. I mean, I've been to cabin spots where the whole hillside is just completely littered with, you know, old medicine bottles and cans galore. But I don't really see anything here. Oh, look at this pretty rock. Look at how it shines. I can't believe he used rocks with copper in them to build his fireplace. That's just so funny. All right, I found something else here. There's an old bone down there. Can you see it? Is that part of the leg bone of Jesse Ewing? Could be. That's another thing. I never heard where he was buried. I guess I'm not supposed to give that part away yet. Well, that's 3 cabins we've found so far. I'm pretty sure there's a 4th, so let's keep looking. See, right up there is where that road is cut in. So I'm guessing his mines are probably up there. That almost looks like a tailing pile there, but it's kind of hard to say. But I say we keep going here. We're finding stuff. So if you look right here, there's a vein of quartz right there. This piece of wood almost looks like It could have been a dynamite box. So we're gonna follow this switchback up. I'm already tired. I'm tired just looking at the switchback. So we made it. We made it to the top of the first switchback. The thing near killed me. But look what I found. We actually found his mine shaft. Man, that adit does not look very safe right there. Look at that giant frickin' boulder getting ready to come down. And the rest of that wood breaks, all that dirt's coming down. And I can see it's locked up in there. So one of the things Jesse would do was he would go up to Rock Springs or Green River, Wyoming, and he'd basically con someone into joining him on his mining ventures. So he'd only do it with one person at a time though. So he'd get them to come back down here, and then he would put them to work at his mine, and more importantly, their money he'd put to work at the mine. And then when their pockets went empty, he would chase them off with a knife or a gun, and then slink back up to Rock Springs to go get more, to go get another person. He wasn't a good man. Yeah, and somehow on one of his trips, he managed to con a girl to come live with him out here. Madame Forrestal, who was she was a lady of the night from Green River. But you know, in the descriptions of him, you hear that his face was cut up from knife fights, and apparently he got attacked by a grizzly once. And so when I picture him, I just picture his face just really ugly looking with scars. And the fact that he was able to convince some girl to come and live here with him at one of the cabins that we've seen, it blows me away. I don't know. He must have told her he had a lot of money or something. We know the only money he was really making was off the people that he fooled into coming here. I wish this mine was a little safer to go in, because I'd go in at least a little ways. But it's just too risky. That adit right behind me, man, there ain't much holding up all that rock right there, and it's just not worth it. Plus I'm out here by myself. Well, me and Riker. There's something on the ground here. I don't know what that would have been. It's another switchback. We'll go up it. Look at how rusty that rock is right there. Some really interesting rock though. Look how shiny that is. Oh. Look, you can see copper on the rock right here. So it's a collapsed adit. Whew, man, it's a climb to get up here. I can't imagine hiking up this stuff every day to go to work for Jesse, who's just gonna take your money and then run you off. So there's other people that I read about that he conned to come here, you know, just kind of nobodies that had a little bit of money in their pocket that he'd find in Rock Springs or Green River, Wyoming, and some of those people just disappeared. Did Jesse go to chase them off, and then they turned violent, and so he murdered them, and they're still buried in these hills somewhere? Or maybe in one of his mine shafts. Could be that one right there. It's crazy. He was and that he kept getting away with it. You'd think after a while the law would be like, hey, these people that keep leaving town with you never come back and are never heard from again. But it was literally the Wild West back then, and Browns Park is a haven for outlaws, or was a haven for outlaws. This is what he was chasing right here. And I bet you if you look on that rock over there, there's more. So he came here and he saw this vein of copper in the rock and conned some fool into digging for him. Then took their money and either murdered them or ran them off. It just blows me away how somebody could be so evil. I mean, that's evil when you're doing stuff like that, it's... Well, he did get his in the end. What do you think, Riker? He's a good companion. Although we had a mishap on the way here in the truck. So we're driving here to Browns Park, and Riker starts acting funny, and the road's really narrow in that area, so there's no place to turn off. All of a sudden I smelled it before I heard it. He took a massive crap right in the back of my truck. Luckily I have like this it's like a cover that goes in the back of my truck. That cover is officially going to be thrown away. And it was a big one. That dog shits like a horse. So Jesse and Madame Forrestal are living at his cabin. A period of time goes by, and then one day, a guy named Duncan, a complete stranger supposedly to both of them, shows up at Jesse's door. He asks Jesse if he can stay with him, and of course, Jesse, smelling easy prey, agrees to let the guy stay with him as long as he works for him. It didn't take long for Madame Forrestal's eyes to lock with Duncan's, and sparks started flying. Of course, they were both afraid if Jesse found out, he'd kill them both. So they hatch a plan. One day, Duncan faked being sick, whining that he couldn't work. Jesse shrugged and left him behind while he headed to the mine. Duncan waited, heart pounding, until Jesse trudged back that evening. As Jesse stepped close to the cabin, Duncan grabbed Jesse's own rifle and blasted shots into his chest. So there lies Jesse, shot with his own rifle, murdered by Duncan. And then, of course, the story ends with Duncan and Madame Forrestal riding off into the sunset. But to me, it sounds fishy. I almost question if it wasn't all set up. Like maybe when Jesse was up in Rock Springs, he told this prostitute that he had a bunch of money and he was making all this money from the mines and he had it stashed around here somewhere. So maybe this prostitute knew this guy up there and set a plan in motion that she would come down here and then he would show up, however long it was later, weeks, months. And her intent was to figure out where all of his money was. And then he was going to come down here and they were going to kill him, take all the money, and then run. It's a good theory, I think. I don't know. I could be way off on that. I just got back down to this cabin. I just wanted to look around here a little more. And one of the things that I'm wondering is if this could have been the cabin that Jesse was murdered at. From what I've read, they said he was coming back down from his mine. His mine is up there. And as he was walking down the hill towards his cabin, Duncan, I think it was, stepped out from behind a rock and shot him with his own rifle. Not to say if the guy didn't deserve it. Just been kind of checking out this whole area. Something that dawned on me is, Jesse Ewing was definitely a greedy guy, the way he treated people. I bet you he has money hidden around here somewhere, because damn well he wouldn't have told her where all of his money he had stashed was. And I'm sure he probably didn't have a lot of money, but I guarantee he had money here somewhere that he wasn't telling anybody about, buried in a can somewhere. He was shot and killed here, so I bet you there's loot in them dar hills. People like Jesse didn't put their money in the bank. They hid it. I did try mail detecting a little bit. I didn't really see anything. Just old cans. Lots of old cans, and the old cans didn't have any money in them. So we made it back to camp. We actually found stuff. We found 3 different cabin remains, 2 different mines. Pretty sure there was probably more up there. But man, that switchback kicked my butt. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.